I call to order the Wickliffe City Council meeting of January 13th, 2020. Sandy, please call the roll.
Biandolillo.
Present.
Bogo.
Present.
Jaworski.
Here.
Koski. Here. Levon.
Here.
Sakis.
Here.
Saloto. Here.
Approval of council minutes.
I'll make a motion, we accept the first minutes for 12/16/19.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bogo, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto, that the council meeting minutes of December 16th be approved as presented. Discussion. Sandy, please call the roll.
Biandolillo.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Koski. Yes. Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto. Yes.
I make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to allow Councilman Biandolillo to abstain from voting on the minutes of December 17th.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Jaworski, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto, to allow Councilman Biandolillo to abstain from the voting of the meeting minutes of December 17th. Discussion. Sandy, please call the roll.
Biandolillo.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Koski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto. Yes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of December 17th.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Jaworski, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto, that the council meeting minutes of December 17th be approved as presented. Discussion. Sandy, please call the roll.
Biandolillo.
Abstain.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Koski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto. Yes.
Councilman Jaworski.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Council President Levon from voting on the minutes of December 19th.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Jaworski, seconded by Councilwoman Koski, to allow Council President Levon to be excused from voting on the council minutes of December 19th. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Biandolillo.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Koski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto. Yes.
I make a motion to accept approve the council minutes of December 19th.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Biandolillo, seconded by Councilman Bogo, that the council meeting minutes of December 19th be approved as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Biandolillo.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Koski.
Yes.
Levon.
Abstain.
Saloto. Or Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto. Yes.
I make a motion, the minutes be approved for the first the first meeting in January.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bogo, seconded by Councilman Biandolillo, that the council meeting minutes of January 6th be approved as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Biandolillo.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Koski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto. Yes.
Reports and communications from the Mayor, Safety Director.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. I'm looking for a community representative to replace Patty Fowler, who served as the Wickliffe representative on the Lake County General Health District Board. I sent some details and a description to council earlier today. If you can think of anyone or have any recommendations, please let me know. There are about 10 meetings held per year, or 10 meetings per year on the third Monday of each month. The seat is paid $80 per meeting. There's a few committees, not quite as many as the city council. Patty was on the policy review, not that person would have to be on a committee for their first year. Have to annually complete 2 hours of continuing education and vote on new and old business items. Also,
Go ahead, finish your-
Okay. Tell them what time the meeting is, though.
3 p.m.
Yes.
3 p.m. With the exception of January and February, they're on the fourth Mondays.
Thank you.
Yeah, but there's a full description of what goes on during those meetings. In the email, I mean, they discuss things from walking paths to the WIC program to mosquito spraying, so it's quite a wide spectrum. Also, in an email I sent to council, the last week was the last straw with activities at JAB Supply and the repeated disregard for the aesthetics, traffic safety, and air quality of our community. I had to call dispatch again and waste the time of our employees to say what we've been telling this business for several years now. When leaving my office near 305 and driving west for a meeting, there was mud and debris the entire path from 305 to the business location. Roughly 45 minutes later on my way back, there had been no attempt to clean up the spills until I called and sent the police down. Chief Ice can attest, the warnings are soon forgotten a few days later, which is why I feel we need to review the current zoning and the ordinances pertaining to the business. And this is the email I sent to council. Again, there was mud all over Euclid Avenue from trucks exiting the driveway next to the JAB Scale House. I've asked several times for Ray to have them install a tire wash at the location, or for no trucks to pull out of that driveway, and no action has been taken on either. I requested a meeting with the owner with no avail. I have asked them to lower the piles with no avail. I'd like to add the following items to committee and schedule a meeting next Monday. One will be a committee of the whole to review it and if necessary pass new legislation regarding commercial vehicles, truck wash stations, and the use of street sweepers on near construction projects. They now have 2 street sweepers causing even more hazards as they drive probably half the speed of regular traffic. And it should not even get to the point where it requires 1 street sweeper, let alone 2. Committee of the whole to review the current use and current zoning of those properties and determine if operations 1 should have been permitted in the first place and 2 should they continue. I also sent that email to Planning Commission this morning. Committee of the whole regarding the grading of land and construction zones. How long can they continue to pile up dirt with no plans in place for the long term? There needs to be a clear definition to how long construction zones can go this far above grade. Again, I also emailed Planning Commission regarding these topics and also in regards to the Architectural Review Board for the Scale House, as it was supposed to be demolished after their initial purchase, which obviously never happened. This has gotten to the point where it has a negative impact on every business and resident from East 300th Street to East 305 and cannot continue as it is. We are well beyond the point of warnings. The neighboring businesses and residents deserve much better. More LED lights will be switched out as soon as possible, mainly from the NOPEC grant this year. I've been hearing from several residents when they cross the border from Euclid into Wickliffe, there's a stark difference in the improvement, and they're all very thankful. In regards to when streetlights are burnt out, Service Department calls in and First Energy will come out and replace them. They've been replacing those with the old HPS lights, and fairly soon they will start replacing them with the LEDs at no cost to the city. Now, I did give Service Director approval to go ahead with that once that program does start. The only downside is that, let's say if a street has 10 lights, 3 of them go out, they're going to have 3 new lights and 7 old lights until we get the other ones fixed. While this cost to operate the street lights is placed on the property owners, I feel we should do everything possible to lower that cost. And along with the NOPEC grants, I think we can, it might be aesthetically unpleasing for maybe a year or 2 while we replace the rest, but again, it's going to lower that cost. And I firmly believe we can lower that special assessment at the end of next year after getting more street lights replaced. We're still continuing with weekly calls with the folks from Trueline. They submitted their application and plans to the Planning Commission last week and are moving along fairly quickly. With that, Council is voting on 2 road vacations tonight. That should be the last time Council is needed until they are presented plans of the Planning Commission at the February meeting. When we discussed this at the end of last year, Council gave myself and Law Director approval for 1 of the paper road vacations. There was 1 that we missed, which I believe is the extension of 294th. It's still a paper road. After looking at everything several ways, everyone involved, Monica, Scott, myself, it didn't make sense for us to keep this small little piece of land, and it works out better so they can have a continuous piece of land. So there are 2 actual paper road vacations on the agenda tonight. And that is all I have.
Any questions or comments for the Mayor Safety Director? Councilman Sakis.
Okay, so a couple hours after you sent the email out regarding JAB, I received a phone call from Mr. Velich, and he's just stated that he'd be more than happy to meet with you to resolve some of these issues. He said other than in passing at a council meeting, no one reached out to him, but he would love to do that, save a lot of time by going into committee. He was expected to be graded, leveled, and out of here by now. He's held up by the Army Corps, so that's prolonged what he's trying to do. But yeah, he just wanted me to let you know he'd be more than happy to sit down with you and try to get everything resolved. I see a couple things were taken care of. I received the text of the one entrance was blocked off, and I believe a wash is there. So I just want to state that to maybe save some time. I don't know how you feel about that, but just want to...
I feel that we still need to have this discussed in committee because there have been, I mean, Chief, how many times would you say I've sent you down there just in the past 12 months?
Quite a few. I mean, at least once a month, probably more than that.
So it's beyond the point of yes, it's taken care of with a text message because again, that'll last maybe a couple days and then the same activities continue, which is, I've been extremely patient with this, and I feel it's beyond that point, and we need to discuss it in committee and also have planning commission discuss the items I mentioned as well. It should not have gotten to this point.
Councilman Jaworski.
I guess the first question, and John, this isn't meant for you, but it's meant either be for Peter or for Ray, because it does pertain to this. Did they ever have to, or maybe even Scott, did JAB even ever have to go to planning commission for what they're doing? So planning commission never met on anything having to do with that property then?
Other than lots of consolidation, no.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I guess my only thought is point number 2 is something I think the administration could handle internally and wouldn't need to go to council. I mean, something as reviewing the zoning would be more of an administrative function where it wouldn't come to us. That would be, I think, more legal definitions of anything else. And if they, I mean, with what they're doing, council, I don't think, again, has any ability to issue even something like such as a stop work order. I think that would fall again on the administration. So I think point 2 is something that you and the administration should be able to handle. I'll leave it up to Scott and Ray, but I don't think that really falls within council parameters.
Councilwoman Sloto.
I absolutely see where you're coming from with this. I mean, this has been an issue, lots of issues. I'm wondering though, if he has reached out and wants to talk to the administration, maybe we give him a second to do that. Has he not been able to, I mean, this hasn't happened previous to this, am I right? But you have reached out to him, and he has not called you back? Is that how this?
He said other.
Last time I mentioned I wanted to sit down with him, he said things were busy and never got back to me. But again, I should not have to send the police down there on a more than monthly basis. It's several years now, several years of that. Years.
Okay. I'm just thinking it's always, worth a phone call to see if you can sit down with him, and maybe all these things can be resolved. I'm not sure if they will be, but that's certainly would
And we
be
can
at
still
least
try that, but
something
we
to
need to review our ordinances, and planning commission, I feel, should do with a review as well.
try. Okay.
Councilman Sakis.
Just one last thing, we do have to also take into consideration that there's 75 tax-paying employees down there, 30 of them which are Wickliffe residents, so we need to, the business, that's 3/4 of True Line, so we.
And I understand that, and the last time Mark and I talked, which was a year and a half ago, I made extremely clear that, and I tried to support his business and even said, you need to be mindful of everyone else around you, which he has not done. And we'll set up a meeting before we leave tonight, but we're not just gonna, again, the police chief's talked to him 30 times over the past couple of years, and it hasn't changed. There was, what is that, 2,000 feet from 305 to their driveway? Street sweepers had to go out, how much that disrupts traffic, how many hazards that causes.
Councilwoman Sloto.
So, I remember this discussion a year ago too, yes, but didn't we ask them for street sweepers? Are they handling the I can't say those words, street sweeper cost and?
Yes,
so
they
didn't
are,
we
but
ask for that?
it shouldn't get to the point where it's out all day. Initially, it was here and there when there were some messes. It's constant. It shouldn't be a regular part of traffic. It's extremely disruptive.
So yeah, things have to be tweeted. I know that we asked them to do that, but maybe we need to, revisit that. I understand what you're saying.
And then if we drive down the road and there's debris everywhere and we don't see anybody do it, we can't necessarily issue a citation. We go down there and say something to them, and truck washes on for a day, then it's not.
Right.
And it repeats, and it repeats, and it repeats. I'd love to sit down and talk about if there's a plan in place, but even while I was at the BMV last week renewing my license, you look out the window and you see the mountains of dirt, you see the rebar. I understand it's a tax-paying business. There's a lot of other taxpayers in the area that are negatively impacted by these operations and the negligence of the trucks not going through the wash. We've made fairly simple requests over the years. Have the trucks go through the truck wash. I haven't been that demanding up until this.
Councilman Jaworski.
One more, I guess, Ray, I'm thinking about this one. There's a regular construction site. They have to take care so dirt and mud and other sediments do not get in the sewers. But with all the mud that's being tracked on Euclid Avenue, shouldn't the same type of I don't know if it's EPA or stormwater management fall upon them as well? I mean, it's been bad long before you were mayor, and it's only, I think, gotten worse. And after it first started, I mean, Sweetberry was always covered in that dust and filth.
I believe, Matt, when they first started, they did not have truck wash. I think they bought that afterwards. Now there's a barrier there. When the trucks enter the scale house, they have to go through down and around through Neff property, through the truck wash, then out to Euclid Avenue. That's where we're at right now.
Right, but if I'm, let's say, for instance, True Line, when their facility's being built, they're gonna have to ensure that any type of sediment does not get in the sewers per, again, I don't know if it's sewer management or EPA or whoever it is, but you'd think that stormwater management, you think this company would also have to follow the same thing since they're dealing particularly with sediment and other types of construction debris, and I don't see them doing that. So I question, A, is the EPA aware of this and knowing what's going on with all this stuff getting into the sewer? Does the sewer authority, are they aware of that too? I mean, I don't know, again, if there's additional penalties that, that should be put out there that, we may end up getting hit with, and we shouldn't.
Councilman Villalobos.
And I'm not sure that whether it's the EPA, Councilman Jaworski, it might be an OSHA standards.
That too, yeah, silica.
So that might be something instead of, if the EPA is not availing anything to you, then maybe.
The EPA's tested air quality from time to time. I've seen a handful of reports sent to Chief Powers, which they're more concerned with the on-site premises and the catch basins on the property. The last, I think that was the EPA, one of the reports you had sent last year at some point, but it didn't have anything to do with general debris on the road from the trucks in that report.
Gotcha.
And again, if they've got that spot fixed and trucks are gonna be going to the truck wash, well, I guess we'll be okay, but we're still need to review these ordinances because again, we've gone down there and told them before and then 3 days later, it's the same thing.
Any other further questions or comments from the Mayor Safety Director? Thank you, Mayor Barbish. Reports and communications from the Director of Law.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. The only report I have this evening is the mayor did touch on the two vacation ordinances regarding the True Line property. As the mayor said, just to clarify once again, ordinance number 2020-05 is the vacation of the entirety of Leonard Avenue, Kerr Avenue, and then a portion of East 293rd Street. That was the original plan. That's what council did authorize me to prepare legislation for, as the mayor stated. Subsequently, it came up and it seemed appropriate since that time to vacate a portion of East 294th Street. So that we did go ahead and prepare, and that's the first you've seen it, but that's what we are putting in front of council. It's just a little piece of East 294th Street. And to further let you know, the abutting property owners on both sides of that road, to be a little piece of road to vacated, we own the properties on both sides of that, so it doesn't affect any other property owners except for the city of Wickliffe. So that's my only comment I wanted to make about it, and I have no other comments at this time. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for? Thank you, Mr. Zealy. Communications from the Council President. I have 2 liquor license permits, one for 29114 Euclid Avenue, which is also known as the Wickliffe drive-thru, and the 7-Eleven at 30502 Lakeland Boulevard. If any, this is jokes. You guys have any objections to this, please let the council clerk know. Move on to amendments or additions to the agenda. Mayor Barbish.
Yes, I have new business A, bear with me 1 second here. New business A, legislation for the CRA Housing Board.
Appointees to the CRA Housing Board?
No, we'll need authorization to
Okay.
prepare the legislation, and we'll have that in the appointments next meeting.
Okay.
New business B, I have an appointee to the Parks and Recreation Commission. And then I guess new business C could be JAB Supply or those individual legislation.
Okay, so, yeah. New business A is legislation for CRA Housing Board, B, appointee to Parks and Rec Commission, and C, JAB Supply.
Yes.
Are there any other additions or amendments to the agenda? Councilman Malillo.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I'd like new business D, Economic Development, Avenue Redevelopment Committee. I'd like to have Pete, we're gonna have a presentation from CT Consultants for a master plan meeting. We can get the date set.
Okay, we'll add them as item number D to new business. Any other items or additions or amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the administrators. Police Chief Ice.
Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to my monthly report, there are a couple items I'd like council to be aware of. Spinners was broken into on January 2nd. This is a crew of guys working a number of different places. They broke into a place in Menor, a couple of Euclid, so our detectives are working with area detective bureaus from different departments trying to solve this. We also had a B&E at the Shell gas station at 305 and Euclid, and an attempted B&E in a business on Lakeland. We had our first overdose death of the year, 26-year-old female overdosed on some kind of opioid. I can tell you last year we had 10 overdose deaths. The year before we had 6, and then the year before that we had 12, so I hope that they were going to see a downward trend, but it doesn't appear to be occurring. We had a pretty significant drug arrest on at the Gabe's. Our officers had to fight with the guy in the car, they had taser him, found heroin, cocaine, and some cash. Detectives are working on a house burglary that's on the north end of town. And last night we had a couple of catalytic converters stolen off of vehicles on Lloyd Road. And last week we had a couple stolen off of Lloyd. And we're currently interviewing dispatch candidates and custodial candidates. And that's all that I would have.
Any questions or comments for the police chief? Councilman Sackis.
Chief, so I received a lot of phone calls this past week, obviously about the email that generated all over the news. Something that was black and white, now kind of gray area with a lot of what-if questions that I don't have the answers to. So I guess what I'm saying, I know you were told by the safety director, but your officers, they still have to confiscate and give citations. They have to uphold the law. They took an oath. And, is this something that could hurt the city as far as your bargaining chips with defense attorneys or anything like that? It's just, I got a lot of what-ifs, questions that I don't know the answer to. If a minor, 17-year-old, caught with marijuana, if it's given back to them, how's the parent supposed to know? Or if they got in an accident, just like I said, a lot of what-ifs. And so I just wanted to touch base with you on that.
This particular issue, the mayor and I disagree on. We've had some discussions this first 2 years in office. We have a difference of opinion on it. There are some potential unintended consequences, and I spoke to the mayor on Friday. We cannot give marijuana back to juveniles. If we do that, it's actually a felony. So we're not giving marijuana back to juveniles. Whether or not we give a citation, marijuana's been under 100 grams, has been basically decriminalized. It's almost like getting a traffic citation for speeding, which is not a crime. The mayor, safety director, has the authority to regulate it. And he did. I have no intentions of being insubordinate, nor to my employees. We will comply with his directive.
So I mean, I guess, you know, for example, I got a call, or my daughter got a call from a friend and said, is it true we're allowed to smoke weed in Wickliffe? And just stuff like this gets blown out of proportion, you know, with questions like, okay, if we're at the park and someone's smoking a joint and there's a soccer game, things like this, like I said, are a lot of what-if questions I don't have the answer to. So I kind of can see why people have a lot of questions. And again, I mean, I don't want to blow up your phone every 5 minutes asking these questions. So.
I don't have an answer for those because we've never run across this before, not in the 35 years I've been doing this.
Okay.
Mayor?
I'd just like to add that cities across Ohio, among the state, obviously have been, even states that aren't legal for medicinal or legal for recreational, or even if they are or aren't, there's 30-some states that are in one capacity or another. A lot of cities have found it such a waste of time that they've gone ahead and passed ordinances that's called no fine, no time, essentially doing what I did just by a simple email. I'll probably end up bringing that to council just to have a proper discussion and have a vote, because I'm not going to be here forever, and we shouldn't be writing tickets. So here's what I see, especially when he gave that report, and I'll say it again. Same thing I said in the news. We're finding people with loaded handguns that have manslaughter charges. We're finding people with heroin, with fentanyl, enough fentanyl to kill everyone in this room, which is where our resources need to be. So if we find someone with 1 gram, 2 grams, 50 grams of cannabis, we shouldn't waste more than 30 seconds if that's all they have on them. We need to get back to the serious crimes in this community. And to the point, even if they do confiscate it, they have to write a several paragraph report, enter it in the system, place it in the evidence locker, send the info to the municipal court, someone there has to process it. 6 people are touching this process that then generates maybe $100 back to us, but then all that activity increased the cost of the municipal court. And a lot of the people, it's just not gonna get into social justice reform here, but unfortunately, it's a waste of time, and our resources should not be spent on such trivial matters where there's serious matters happening in the same area. And I was clear that they can still use that for probable cause, which is the biggest concern I think we have, because that could lead to other issues, serious drugs and guns. Again, the police chief and I discussed this on Friday, came to a few agreements on a few areas.
Councilwoman Sloto.
Okay, so just a couple quick points. I too have been barraged with phone calls over this topic. I mean, barraged. And I think maybe it's just my age and my age group. I get a lot more calls about this particular topic. But as I see it, number one, it doesn't seem like the police chief really has a choice about what he wants to do. It sounds to me like this is like an edict from you, and he works for you, so, I mean, he's not gonna be insubordinate, but I don't think that the police chief of our city would necessarily agree with you on this, on any of this. Second of all, and that, for me, when it comes to safety, is more important than really, certainly your opinion versus a professional police professional. Anyway, the second point is, we have laws about driving in this state. Certainly, I mean, and someone just, called me and said, then I can start driving around with a can of open beer, because that's just 1 can of beer. So I just think, marijuana is a drug, and it does alter your perceptions of things. And again, I'm a different age group, I guess. I'm just not really up to speed on really how high one gets from smoking a joint. But I really think, if they're driving, if they get pulled over for a traffic citation, number one, that means that they're also, disobeying the law. They get pulled over, the police officer smells a strong smell of marijuana, which to me would mean that they've been smoking marijuana, which would mean that they're probably high and they're driving. So I don't understand why they shouldn't be cited for that, like they would be cited for, being intoxicated or being, no, we can't measure how high they are, but, it's still an illegal drug, so why wouldn't we, at least cite them, even if you only find a joint or 2 joints, or as he says, 50 grams, how much is 50 grams? I don't even know. That's a lot of, I don't know, but I'm just saying, this is preposterous to me. And I just had to say that. Yes, and that's how most of my phone calls felt also.
Councilman, so the only difference is that if they are impaired when they're driving, if they smell like weed, that they're going to get arrested for driving under influence, whether it's alcohol or marijuana. So,
But he stated
no,
in the
he's saying that
newspaper
if you get pulled
article
over
and in the, on
and
the,
they're possessing it, so if they search the car and they find it in possession, then he won't cite them. But that means that there hasn't been anybody smoking in the car, there isn't somebody that's high that's driving, but they find it on a person, they're not gonna cite it. That's what he's saying. So
Okay.
there's a difference between somebody smoking in a car and an open container, those are definite laws that we will punish. But just because you have it on, that's what he's
I
saying.
disagree, because that's not what he stated, at least on Channel 19. Because he said, well, so they pull people over and they smell weed, so that's.
They can smell it if it's not being burned.
Well, I understand that, I'm not that old, but I can honestly say that if they find weed, they've probably been smoking it, especially if it smells like weed. So I don't,
Not entirely. I mean, if I go to a store and I purchase a 12-pack of beer and I'm driving home and I get pulled over and I have a 12-pack of beer, that doesn't mean I drank a 12-pack of beer or I've been drinking. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. Just because you have it on you doesn't mean you previously smoked, maybe you're going to go somewhere and smoke it, maybe you're going to go home and smoke it, or consume it. Listen,
no,
I'm not arguing the case of
I
that.
understand what you're saying.
Impairment is one thing, possessing is another.
But you're pulled over and the car smells like weed, so that's when you look for weed, right? Because if you just pull somebody over for going through a red light, do you search their car? No, you give them a ticket for pulling up through a red light. But if you smell weed, you search their car, which means, I don't know, I just think it's odd. It's just ridiculous to me. Well, let's be the only city that has this new law, because that's probably gonna set us up for a really good.
City of Cleveland's
like-
looking at it as well, so we're definitely not the only city that's doing this.
Well, I don't think we need to be the city of Cleveland.
Just to make an example, there's probably 100 other cities in the state that are passing similar ordinances.
I
I'll send you
think
some
it's-
examples if
You
you'd like.
don't need to, I think it's ridiculous.
Councilman Sexton.
Just to maybe make something, number one, it's still illegal, so my
Right,
question
just
is,
that.
if you see the marijuana, know that, and you give it back, then they smoke it and get in an accident, I mean,
Another good
where's
point.
that put, I know a lot of what ifs, but those are the calls I'm getting, John, for real.
The calls and emails I got, I was barraged as well with, good job, Mayor
Yeah,
Barbish, thank
right.
you for focusing on serious issues. I'm being dead serious.
I'm-
Dozens of
I think
them.
our police
Dozens of them.
can tell you that they do still handle the serious issues, but still
they do.
enforce state
I never
law.
said they didn't. I never said they
Correct, I
didn't.
mean, right?
I mean, I do know that
They're
if I
still
smoked a lot of
enforcing
pot, I'd
state
be
law.
coming to
Guys, one at a
congratulate you
time,
too. Yeah. Be like,
Still state law. And that puts us in a bad spot if we're going against it.
right.
Any other questions or comments for the police chief? Thank you, Chief Ice. All right, Chief Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Currently, in addition to my monthly report, we're very fortunate to be reviewing specs for a new fire engine. We've been told that due to a lot of other communities looking to purchase fire equipment, that build time's about 12 to 14 months. So in the near future, I hope to come to a council committee here and discuss the financing of it and how we're going to get through that. I know we have some money set aside, which puts us in a good position, and there's a lot of benefits with that money being set aside, as I think the provider of this equipment will give us interest if we put it down early. So we'll talk about that in the future in the committee meeting. Currently, the biggest dilemma we have is we're working to hire more part-time firefighters. As you know, it's a cycle, and we're hitting about that 2-year cycle. When you guys first came in, we hired a lot of people. In fact, I think it was 12 new part-timers in the first year. We have several of those guys leaving. Fortunately, they're getting job offers for full-time positions. So I imagine in the next coming months, we'll drop several of those. And then finally, 2019 was a record-setting year for the number of calls. Our calls were actually up by 14%, which is pretty significant. In past years, they'd be up 2-3%, and this past year, they jumped 14%, which is a lot. There's nothing we can really put to it. The newest assisted living really isn't in full swing yet, so it's just, we're getting a lot more calls. And that's all I have, Mr. Council President.
Any questions or comments for the fire chief? Councilman Jaworski.
Chief, 2 questions for you. Number 1, what make are you looking for in the new truck?
Well, we're open-minded to almost anything. We're not gonna settle for one particular make, because of the cost of these now. I think we have to stay open-minded on others.
I would hope that we're looking for a higher quality, if you will, compared to some lower quality we had purchased years ago, if you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, we had that problem with our aerial ladder,
Yeah.
and I do not want, that will never happen again as long as I'm fire chief. It's important we buy quality. Quality comes with the cost, so. And that's what we need to talk about in a committee meeting and see how far we're willing to go.
Number two, in the December report here, there's 78 calls for mutual aid, and 31 received. Which city are we giving the most mutual aid to?
Willoughby Hills or Willowick, actually.
Thank you.
Any further questions on Council Fire Chief? Councilwoman Slover.
I did have one quick one. I know we talked about this a little bit in the past, but when you talk about all the part-time firefighters and the fact that you're losing them, would it be feasible to look at the actual cost of what that is? Because I know there's training, I know there's all kinds of, I mean, just to search for these guys, to have them, you know, like qualify for the job and all the training that goes with it and all. I know that you had said you have to kind of double up full-time with part-time for a while. You can't just send the part-timers out
Right.
at the beginning. It costs a lot of money to have all these part-time positions. I would really like to actually look at the cost of having permanent, you know, full-time firefighters, or at least a few positions that are more full-time than all of these part-time positions, and maybe that would help. Maybe, I mean, I just want to look at the cost comparison.
Okay, we can do
So,
that.
and I can, you know, help with that too. if you-
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions or comments for the Fire Chief? Thank you, Chief Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I just wanted to let council know that I am working on the month end, the year end. It is the time of year that it's taking me a little longer this year than I had anticipated. I'm hoping to have all the reports published by the end of the week. That's my hope. Income tax in December was up about almost $200,000 in 2019 than it was for December of 2018. So far that the income tax collection is going well. The payroll outsourcing is working out well also. And I think other than being crazy busy in the finance department at this time of year, I think that's all I have.
Any questions or comments for the Finance Director? Thank you, Ms. Bowles. Engineer Formica.
Thank you, Council President. I have nothing to add to my written report.
Any questions or comments for the City Engineer? Thank you, Mr. Formica. Service Director D'Ambrosio.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you remember back in May, I believe it was May 15th, Pete Formica and I met with the EPA. We went around our facilities. We had a couple violations. We took care of those. They sent us a 19-page report. It was quite extensive. I didn't quite understand everything, so actually I talked to Pete about it. We ended up calling the EPA. It just basically said the city's in compliance with everything. What we were in violation with, we told them how we remedied it, and everything was good to go, so we got the final report on that. Also, we got away with one this weekend with the wind. The wind was significant. We really didn't have too much damage. A couple trees came down, mostly branches. We're telling the residents if they call, if they have branches in their backyard, bring them to the tree lawn. We'll come by with the chipper and we'll take care of it. The mayor commented on the street lights. It is a new program they're going to do. If the street light goes out, they will replace it with an LED at no cost. And then the additional LED lights on Euclid Avenue that are east of Warden Road, they're supposed to start doing those sometime in January. And that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments? Councilman Jaworski.
Joe, just pertaining to the streetlights, I know that, you know, sometimes a streetlight is out because there's a short or something. And are they looking at if the streetlight is actually, you know, burnt out, or if there's a deeper issue with that light before they put the LED in there?
That's a good question. They don't even have the contract written yet for the cities to sign to get into this program, so I'll ask that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd hate to have them put an LED in and then the thing gets shorted out and then you know, we've got to pay for a new LED light when.
Right. No, that's a good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the service director? Councilman Gallo?
Thank you, Council President. Joe, I know we kind of brought up when we dealt with the generator at the fire station. What about the pump station that we have? Are we?
Yeah, we're actually looking to get a price on that. When I talked to NOPEC last year, they said it would fall into their parameters to be able to use the NOPEC grant. We put away, I think we escrowed about $17,000 from 2019 that we're going to apply for that. And then we're going to get more money for 2020, and the rest of the money we'll probably use on streetlights. So yeah, we are working on a price for that.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments for the service director? Thank you, Mr. D'Ambrosio. Building Commissioner Sack.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. All of you should have received my end-of-the-year report. And if there's any questions, feel free to give me a call. I'd like to put in the committee, the mayor and I have had a problem with the sandwich board signs on Euclid Avenue with the businesses. And I'd like to know if we could put that in a committee to tweak it a little bit more so we don't have all these headaches on sandwich board signs.
Ray, do you know what chapter that is, or?
It's, I believe, 13. I don't have it.
I'll just put sandwich board.
Sandwich board signs.
Sandwich board signs under the legislation and welfare committee.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any further questions or comments for the building commissioner? Thank you, Mr. Sack. Recreation Director, stop.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just one thing to add to my written report. I'd like to invite everyone to Winterfest on Saturday. Don't know what we're going to get, but everyone will be welcome there. We've got the chili entries that have come in, so we'll still have a party over there, regardless of weather.
What do you have?
1 to 4. That's it.
Any questions or comments for the Recreation Director? Councilman Sakis.
I just want to state again, for everybody hearing this, to please go to Winterfest. Their chili cook-off is amazing. The chili that is cooked in the city blows me away. It's phenomenal, every entry. But it's definitely a great event for the community. I've said that before, and I'll highly stress it again, so thanks.
Any further questions or comments for the Recreation Director? Thank you, Mr. Scott. Economic Development Director Drake.
Thank you, Council President. If you have any questions on the road vacation, I'm happy to answer from my view, but I think it's beneficial to get anything that's not being used by the city back on the tax duplicate, and so that's my thoughts on that. I did receive a call from the real estate company that's representing the former ABB site. That property is going to auction in February, and I have had some calls from some interested parties, developers on that site, so I just want to let you know. I believe the bids open up on February 24th, they're working on the reserve, and it closes on February 26th. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for the Economic Development Director? Thank you, Ms. Drake. I'll now open the floor for audience participation. If anyone would like to address with the City Council, please stand, state your name and address in the first record. Each person will have a 5-minute maximum amount of time. Would anyone like to address with the City Council? Would anyone like to address with the City Council? Mr. Belch?
Mark Belich, 30105 Euclid Avenue, 440-487-7525. My email address is markbelich, spelled like my last name, at gmail.com. I believe everybody here has all that information, and I think I talk to everybody here on a regular basis. Anybody like to have a meeting, talk about this? I started this here 3 years ago. I met with the former mayor, and always have been open to speak to everybody. So a comment as to the fact that I'm not available or I don't respond or call is just not true. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address with the City Council? Would anyone else like to address with the City Council? If not, I'm off participation closed. Committee reports? Commission reports? Councilman Jaworski.
Planning Commission met on January 2nd, 2020. The committee approved a request for parking lot plan for PCC airfoils on 29501 Clayton Avenue. And they also provided guidance for a potential structure or a potential occupant at 28953 Euclid Avenue, although I've since learned that group is no longer looking at that space.
Any other commission reports? We move on. Seeing no old business, we move on to new business A, legislation for CRA Housing Board. Mayor?
Yes, law director informed me this morning I was going to start making appointments, that we would need legislation to actually create the board. From what I saw from the Ohio Revised Code, I was under the impression that after the appointments were made, the board would then set the rules and whatnot, but we'll need council to authorize the law director to prepare legislation to create, if you could let them know what exactly you need done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, you know, other boards and commissions, even if they are codified, we have historically done legislation for, so I think we should do legislation creating. There's actually, it's two councils that we need to create, so we'd ask council for authority to create a housing council and also a tax incentive review council, two separate councils to legislatively create, to appoint board members to. Then we can, as the mayor said, we can start making appointments to those two boards or councils.
What were the two again?
Well, the first one will be a housing council, and the second one will be a tax incentive review council.
Commission?
Council, they're under the code, they're referred to as councils. But they both pertain to CRA applications for the city.
I'll make a motion to authorize the law director to prepare legislation to create a housing council for the CRA.
Second.
Moved by Council President Levon, seconded by Councilwoman Slodo to authorize the law director to prepare legislation to create a housing council for our CRA. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Candelo?
Yes.
Bogo?
Yes.
Jaworski?
Yes.
Kowski?
Yes.
Levon?
Yes.
Sakis?
Yes.
Saloto?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to authorize the law director to prepare legislation to create a tax incentive review council for our CRA.
Second.
Moved by Councilman President Levon, seconded by Councilman Gallillo to authorize the law director to prepare legislation to create a tax incentive review council for our CRA. Discussion? Cindy, please call the roll.
Candelo?
Yes.
Bogo?
Yes.
Jaworski?
Yes.
Kowski?
Yes.
Levon?
Yes.
Sakis?
Yes.
Saloto?
Yes.
Okay. New business B, appointee to Parks and Rec Commission.
Yes, I'd like to fill a vacancy and appoint Seth Begeman to the Parks and Rec Commission with a term ending in December of 2021.
21 or 22? I thought you said 22. Said 2 years?
2-year term,
22.
22.
20 and 21.
Okay, yeah, and 2021.
And 20, okay.
Right?
Yeah, you're correct. I'll make a motion to reaffirm the mayor's appointment of Seth Bagman to the Parks and Rec Commission with the end date of December 31st, 2021.
Second.
Moved by Council President Levon, seconded by Councilman Gallillo to reaffirm the mayor's appointment of Seth Bagman to the Parks and Recreation Commission with an end date of December 31st, 2021. Discussion? Cindy, please call the roll.
Candelo?
Yes.
Bogo?
Yes.
Jaworski?
Yes.
Kowski?
Yes.
Levon?
Yes.
Sakis?
Yes.
Saloto?
Yes.
JAB Supply, Mayor.
So again, I'd like to discuss the ordinances in relation to debris on the road, just because it's specific to the trucks at this point, to construction zones in regards to trucks entering and exiting construction zones, truck washes, and also elevation of properties on Euclid Avenue.
Okay, if we're gonna modify ordinances, it should go in the Legislation and Welfare Committee. If you just wanna do a general discussion to start, then we can put it in Committee of the Whole. Because typically, anything we modify or.
Yeah, true, but we can do legislation and welfare.
Well, I would
Committee of the whole first.
suggest that, it sounded like you wanted to discuss this with all of council, and if that's the case, you might want to
Yeah.
put it in committee of the whole,
Yeah,
and
committee
if
of
they
the
feel
whole.
appropriate for anything to be changed, they could
Recommend to
They could make
Legislation.
recommendations to the Legislative and Welfare Committee.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll add to the Committee of the Whole, commercial vehicles, truck wash, and construction sites. Was it zoning of construction sites, zoning of construction property, or?
Well, again, as Councilman Jaworski said, I asked Planning Commission to review that, so I don't think we'll have to discuss the actual zoning of it.
Okay, then the other item would be grading of land and construction zones.
Correct.
So, okay.
I guess more specific in regards to the time frame of the grading.
Okay, yeah, we'll get into more detail in our discussion, so we'll add those both to the Committee of the Whole. All right, then, New Business D, Economic Development Redevelopment Committee, Councilman Bialillo.
Yes, spoke to economic developer Drake, a few council members, and Pete Formica about having CT put together a presentation for a possible master plan redevelopment of Euclid Avenue. So I'd request a meeting to have them come in and give us a presentation.
Okay, that committee chair can call a meeting whenever they believe their time frame is ready.
We're working on a few things, and I think it's gonna end up looking at more an overall request for services instead of just having one do it, but
Okay.
we will be talking about that probably later this month or sometime in February.
Okay.
All right, move on to ordinances.
Ordinance number 2020-01, an ordinance approving the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as part of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilman Bialillo to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-01 on third and final reading. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bialillo.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilman Bogo to adopt ordinance 2020-01 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bialillo.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2020-02, an ordinance levying an assessment for unpaid bills and costs of cutting noxious or poisonous weeds, vines, tree limbs, or grasses growing upon parcels of land in the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bialillo, seconded by Councilman Sakis, to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-02 on third and final reading. Discussion? Councilman Jaworski.
Just one, what time period does this cover?
August 14th through October 23rd of 2019.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bialillo.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bialillo, seconded by Councilman Sakis to adopt ordinance 2020-02 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bialillo.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2020-03, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio, to transfer a sum of money from the general fund to the Safety Services Fund and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Saloto, seconded by Councilman Sakis, to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-03 on third and final reading. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Biondello.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Suspension.
Adoption.
Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Biondello, seconded by Councilman Bogo, to adopt ordinance 2020-03 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Biondello.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2020-04, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio to enter into a contract with Civica North America, Inc., DBA Civica, for the provision of computer software for the city's Department of Finance. First reading. Ordinance number 2020-05, an ordinance vacating Leonard Avenue, Kerr Avenue, and a portion of East 293rd Street in the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Saloto, seconded by Councilman Sakis, to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-05 on third and final reading. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Biondello.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto, to adopt ordinance 2020-05 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Biondello.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2020-06, an ordinance vacating a portion of East 294th Street in the city of Wickliffe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Biondello, seconded by Councilman Sakis, to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-06 on third and final reading. Discussion? Cindy, please call the roll.
Biondello.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bogo, seconded by Councilman Sakis, to adopt ordinance 2020-06 as presented. Discussion?
I just
Councilman
have one
Saloto.
question.
Yes.
So one question, so this is 294th Street, and it's just that little section that is near Liberty Garden? No, on the other
Further
on the
into
other
the
side.
woods,
Okay,
the
all right.
people of Dead End Street.
Yeah, so the area that's already wooded.
Legally.
Okay, but there's houses on one side?
No.
No, it's just, it's
City
further,
property.
okay, all right, good. That is one to get that in my head.
Councilman Jaworski?
I just want to say this. It is absolutely ridiculous that we have to do this. The law is so stupid. This doesn't exist. We shouldn't have to do this. It is a waste of time, a waste of money, and this is the state or whoever in cahoots with the real estate industry. It's a made-up road. We shouldn't have to waste our time doing stuff like this.
I agree.
That's all I got to say.
Any further discussion?
You're here.
Cindy, please call the roll.
Biondello.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Seeing no resolutions, we move on to other legislation. Miscellaneous, Councilman Jaworski.
Just one. Pete, could we have a meeting on Monday night to discuss the Sun Avenue Improvement Project?
Absolutely.
Okay. So improvement committee?
Improvement Committee.
Okay, so Councilman Jaworski, on the same lines, I was gonna remind everybody that we have a gas tax at 7 o'clock on Monday for the Finance Committee. I was going to add road improvement funds from the county as well to that Finance Committee. So those will be at 7. You can have an improvement meeting to follow on Sun Avenue. And then I'm going to have committee of the whole follow that with commercial vehicles, truck wash, and grading of land on construction sites.
Excuse me.
Yes, Councilman.
Can I tack on one more? Or that-
Legislation, let's go for it.
Yeah, let's get her all done.
You want the
But
sandwich?
just to talk about the sandwich signs.
Okay. Okay, So Monday at 7, we have finance with gas tax, road improvement, funds from the county, then improvement with the Sun Avenue, committee of the whole with commercial vehicles and truck wash and grading of land on construction sites, and legislation and welfare with sandwich board sites. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Biello, seconded by Councilman Bogo to adjourn the meeting. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Andalillo.
Yes.
Bogo.
Yes.
Jaworski.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Levon.
Yes.
Jacobs.
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.